My wife and I go in for our 20-week appointment, little baby girl, and there's no heartbeat. And you're crushed.
Life's knocked me down 100 times.
Just really like prayed and interceded and fasted for him to bring our little girl back to life.
It gets tiring to get up again.
I was even tearing up this morning just looking at these lyrics again, thinking, I wonder if that kid knew when he was writing these songs that some of those lyrics may be the thread that God was having him write to hold him back together.
That song, it just spoke to everything I was feeling, everything I was grappling with in that moment. There's this reality that I don't always get answers, but I do get his presence.
How are you and your wife doing now?
We're,
Hey everybody, this is Rita Springer. Welcome to another episode of the Rita Springer podcast. And worship is my weapon. So excited today to have the incredibly talented, his voice is insane, Seph Schlueter is in the house today, and we're going to be chatting with him about all things worship, his record, counting my blessings, and finding out a little bit about everything that makes him who he is. So welcome to the Rita Springer podcast. Do you remember when I first met you?
Yeah, it was at the Centricity writing retreat. Like, man, what was that, 2021 maybe?
Yeah, I think it was 21. I was like, I don't think it was like in the heart of COVID. I think it was after, because we started to meet again.
Yeah.
But wasn't it Bede? You, me, and Bede were in a songwrite together at Bede's old house.
We did that too, yes.
Because you'd come in and I was laughing so hard because Christina sent me this little write-up about you. And you had said, it was like a quote from you where you were like, you were talking about, I think it's your now manager was like setting up rights for you in Nashville. And you would look people up before you went in writing rooms with them. And you would almost have these panic attack because you were like, oh my gosh. And I was laughing so hard because I was like, the poor boy, like what was he thinking that week in all of those rights? Because we all do that.
Sure.
But you were so new to the game.
Yeah, I was a baby.
Yeah. And
still feel like I am.
And are you still living in Ohio, Columbus area?
Yeah.
So you're still there. Because I remember that. I remember you living there because that's where all of like my father's side, my mother's side, they all come from the Columbus, Ohio area. In fact, just outside of Columbus, there's a really beautiful hill. And on the top of that hill is the Springer family cemetery where all of my where all like the 100, over 100-year-old relatives are. And it's actually stunning out there. So I kind of have this sweet little place in my heart for Columbus and Crooksville and Zanesville and all those places, because that's kind of where my parents' heritage is.
That's awesome.
But I remember you come from Ohio and you were part of this group called Damascus Worship. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because at that point, I'd never heard what that was and how you got involved in it.
Yeah, so Damascus, the ministry is called Damascus. It's a ministry in Ohio, Centerburg, Ohio, which is the geographical center of Ohio. They got really creative with the name. They're like, we're the center, let's call ourselves Centerburg.
Yeah.
And this ministry had been running summer camps. This is our 25th year of running summer camps. That was the biggest thing that they did. And 6,000 kids come into summer camp. Yeah. And the ministry primarily serves in the Catholic Church. And so it's these kids that come in who oftentimes, go to Catholic schools, have been involved in the Catholic Church their whole lives, but have only been taught things about Jesus and not actually introduced to a personal relationship with Jesus. And so 25 years ago, the founders of this ministry were recognizing that in the youth. And as a result, youth were just leaving the church because they hadn't had a personal encounter with Jesus. So they started these camps and just started, it was an opportunity to introduce these kids to Jesus in a way that, you grab them in with the jet skis and the high ropes and the paintball, and then all of a sudden you show them the person of Jesus. And these kids were leaving and being totally transformed, and that transformation was continuing beyond just the camps. And so that was in 25 years ago. And then in 2016, or 2015 actually, they decided to, we had outgrown all the campsites in Ohio. And so miraculously ended up stumbling upon 500 acres of land in Centerburg, Ohio, and decided that was going to be the place where they would build permanently and actually build like a whole camp out of this. And then they decided like, well, what if we ran a missionary program where, we run retreats throughout the whole year, and these kids that we ordinarily just were able to encounter over the summer, what if like churches and schools sent their kids to us for these retreats throughout the year so that we could continue to form them in their faith? Wow. And so they started a missionary program there where they would train up these missionaries to run these retreats. And so in 2018, I had gone as a camper to this camp growing up.
Were you raised Catholic?
Yeah, born and raised Catholic my whole life.
Wow, okay.
And my family has been amazing. Both of my parents were involved with ministry in the Catholic Church. And so I got to see a side of the Catholic Church that not many people get to see, which is this more charismatic dimension to it, a more authenticity dimension to it than a lot of people experience. And it was so fun. We'd pray together every night. I'm one of 6, so bigger Catholic family. Yeah, although that's like small for a Catholic family. Yeah. 6 is easy. My mom was one of 12, so. Wow. But we'd pray together every night and talk about faith. And sometimes prayer was, more Catholic prayers. Other times it'd be praise and worship. My dad would like pray in tongues over us every night. Like there was just like this whole dimension to it that was really cool, that we kind of got, formed in tradition, but also breathed life through the Spirit. And so I grew up in that, which was just really, really special. And so I grew up going to these camps, and then I had a full ride to a university in Florida and felt like I was going to go there. I had a roommate picked out, everything. And I just felt the Lord calling me to throw it all away and to go join this ministry in the middle of nowhere, Ohio.
Were you homeschooled too?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, homeschooled, and I really fell in love with the Lord in high school. Like that was, again, raised in the faith, but it was in high school that I really just gave my life over to Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's when I started like worship leading. I fell in love with the Lord, and I wanted everyone to experience it. So I would start getting these kids to come over. We got to the point where we'd have 50 kids coming over in our basement every week, every Saturday. And we'd worship, we'd preach the gospel, we'd do small groups, we'd pray over one another, like just on a weekly basis. The Lord was just doing a lot of really cool things. And so, it was just a really special time. And so I knew I wanted to do something for the Lord. I didn't really know what it was. But I ended up, throwing away this opportunity. And
did you know back then the kind of voice you had?
No, it was so funny growing up. I just loved music. I started taking lessons when I was 5, piano lessons.
But that's because you're in homeschool and everybody has to choose an instrument. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I took lessons, and then I took it for 5 years and stopped taking them. It still kept playing because I love music. And, I didn't think I would do anything special with it. Like it's funny because some people will be like, "Oh man, like my family was so supportive and loved it so much." My family, and this is maybe just part of being a big family, they're like, "Stop singing! Like we're sick of it already. Like you don't have a good voice. Like get over it." And so I didn't think anything would come from it, but I just couldn't. There was just something in me that resonated with it, and I remember even thinking in that season in high school, discovering like worship music in a new way, and like the way I look back on it now is like, man, all this music, this, Mumford and Sons, Ed Sheeran, Adele, like all these people, like I experience something when I listen to it for sure. Like it helps me feel something, but I listen to this worship music and it helps me encounter someone. Wow, and it was like totally different. I can sing about Adele all I want, but she's never going to come in the room, know?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I start singing about Jesus, and it's like he's there. Yeah. And I remember just being hooked, and I felt like, and that's what made me want to start leading worship, not knowing I would do anything with it, but just I had this passion for it. And so again, didn't think there was anything special about it in any way, but
for you, was it like, okay, I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to go work at Damascus, and I'm going to serve them in worship.
100%. And even then it's crazy because the ministry was so young, we were so new, and in a new ministry, everybody's doing everything.
Yeah,
and you don't really know what it is. And so it was crazy because I would do worship But at the same time, I'm small group leading for a group of middle school boys that just wants to make, fart jokes
Wow.
until 2 a.m. And then they're leaving and I'm cleaning the toilets and I'm cleaning the showers and I'm cleaning the campus. And then, we're getting formed on one day. And then the next day we're going to this random town 15 minutes down the road and doing street ministry and praying for strangers and asking the Lord for words and like all the whole
Wow.
gambit of things. So it was such a beautiful season of being hidden and being formed, like just
Yeah.
letting the Lord work. I mean, I was in a house with 13 guys, a small house with 13 guys. You can't hide anything. Like you're in the fire. And the Lord does so much in those moments when and it wasn't because I didn't think I was gonna have a career. I didn't think it wasn't like, man, I'm gonna come here and this is gonna be like the next step to whatever the Lord has. I just wanted to serve. I was like, man, I just want to lay my
Wow.
life down and serve because I don't really know what's next, but I do know that like the Lord calls us to be people of serving. And it's funny when like everyone asks me like, how did you get to where you're at now? And what's the secret to success? And I always tell them, I'm like, you don't want to hear this, but it's to
Yeah.
die. It's to go serve. It's like find somewhere that's going to kill you because like that's
Yeah.
what it did for me. And
Wow.
it just got rid of like pride. It got rid of ego. It got rid of selfishness. It's like, cause that gets choked out of you in an environment that is so demanding and so exposing. It's like you can't hide anything. It all comes up to the light, and the Lord will. You have to deal with it, or you're not going to
Yeah.
survive.
Wow. So how long did you do that? Because you were still doing that when I was with you, when I
I'm
saw
still
you.
doing it to this day. Yeah.
Really?
So I did it. It's a 2-year missionary program of formation and running these retreats, and then so I did that 2018. Started in 2018, and then in 2020, I ended up taking a job. They didn't really know what it was of worship coordinator at Damascus, and so that's when Damascus worship was kind of born because really what we saw was the Lord was just blessing our times of worship together in a really
Yeah.
significant way, and started writing music that was impacting people. And so we're kind of like, it's like, hey, we don't want to do something and then ask God to bless it. We want to see what God is blessing, and then we want to get behind it, And so we saw God was blessing worship, and so our team was just like, hey, we don't really know what this looks like, especially again in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
There's no like example or model to follow.
Yeah.
You have in outside the Catholic Church, you have amazing ministries and worship movements and things like that. But in the Catholic Church, it's not really there. But we just felt the Lord was doing something special with it. And so I came on staff that year as a full-time, we call it mission staff. And so I was kind of trying to pioneer what this could look like. And then every year it just kind of kept growing. I have a team. I run a team. There's like five people underneath me now. I'm still doing it full time. A
You're
lot of it's on the
kidding
road for me
me.
now, but it's just something I believe in. It's just like, man, it definitely makes my life harder and more complicated, but at the same time, it's
Do you feel like
so
it grounds you to almost like the center of what God's called you to do, to never be too far from that center of mission work, ministry, and discipleship?
yeah, 100%. Because it
Wow.
just keeps you rooted in community. It keeps you rooted in the people that like, know who you are and know like your whole journey. And it's just something that isn't glamorous. Like it's not. And
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
like serving in something that is like that is so special because it does just keep you humble and keep you grounded um and I believe in it too. I think that's the other thing. It's like I love like what are you passionate about? Like passion means the word has been used in so many different ways, but passion
Yeah.
really means to suffer for, suffer with. And it's like, man, like I'm passionate about this, and that means I'm willing to suffer for it. It's not easy. We experience persecution. We experience a lot of pushback from people who don't think that this belongs in the Catholic Church. But like it's worth it because like we're seeing lives transformed. We're seeing people encounter Jesus. We're seeing a culture within the church begin to shift, and it's so special to just see how the Lord is moving it. And so, yeah, it's hard to be doing all my own stuff and shows and recordings and all that stuff, and still kind of
Right.
take priority with this thing as well. But it is so
It's
worth it
it's
in
so
my
interesting
my
because
life.
I've said it on here before, just describing, my coming into worship, at your age, many, many years ago. But we were writing songs because God was healing people in the services. We weren't writing songs because we wanted to make records. We saw God healing somebody of a tumor or cancer, so we would rush back to write another song. And I think that stabilized me in the last 30 years because I couldn't get away from that. I couldn't get away from the authentic experience of what the presence of God could do in a room to people that needed his presence. So writing songs for monetary gain or because it was a thing I felt gifted at, that always felt like oil and water. They didn't mix. Yeah. So it sounds a lot like you've kind of had this really cool experience almost of true discipleship and in the trenches, and you're choosing to stay there because do you feel like it just centers you and makes you just stay focused with what it really is all about?
Yeah, because it reminds you that it's not about you.
Yeah.
And I think we all need that reminding no matter how far in a journey we've been. And so to be building something that doesn't have my name attached to it, to be building something that is bigger than me, it really does just remind you, hey, this is about building the kingdom of God. It's not about building Seph Schlueter's brand or not about building even the Damascus worship brand. It's like, man, this is for the kingdom of God. And so to be involved in the community where we're worshiping together weekly and we're seeking the Lord and seeing him move in just amazing ways, it does center you. It puts your heart in that right position, and just continues to refine you and expose things that then you get to bring to the Lord.
Yeah. And you realize it's kind of not normal for your age bracket to actually have the maturity to see that. Where's the tension for you you kind of have this experience. You kind of come to Nashville on a whim, right? Like they're like somebody's putting you in writing rooms based on what you're doing at Damascus a few years ago. You come here, you don't know what you're coming to, right? Like It must have been a foreign world to you. There's excitement in it because there's always excitement in it. But now you've got this platform where you have this really beautiful opportunity where your audiences are larger than they've ever been, and your songs are being heard by millions of people. Where do you guard the tension in that? Because that can be a slippery slope.
Yeah.
So where have you found that tension and been like, "Ooh, gosh, I got to be careful here"?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I always tell people, I think one, being in community is so helpful because
that's so good.
You have people that you've been doing life with for years.
Yeah.
And they know who you are and they can call out weird things or, just they keep you centered. You get to have those conversations. I feel like so often in conversation, that's why I love dialogue. And there's the Lord meets us in dialogue. I was just talking to somebody who was sharing just how glorified God is in our questionings and our dialogue and our askings and our just, meeting with one another, because that's him. Like he's in that. And so I feel that so often when I'm in conversations with friends that I've been walking with years. And it's like, man, all of a sudden the Lord, in just my sharing where I'm at, what my life is, like, man, he points things out and he shows things, he exposes things, he, refines things, he challenges things. So I feel like in those moments, it's so helpful. And then I also think one of the things that I'm so grateful for Damascus for just solidifying in me is the importance and value and then habit of daily prayer. Wow. It's just that was something that was just expected of us. Time was blocked out in our schedule, and it was something that we just continued to do. And we would call each other out when it didn't happen and be like, "Hey man, did you pray today?" And it's like, "Oh no, like what got in the way of that?" Like that was just a normal thing for us. And that has been a lifeline for me. Wow. And it shocks me how uncommon that can be. Of like actually taking, not just, all right, man, I'm gonna read a quick 5-minute devotional, but sitting with the Lord for an hour.
Yeah.
And getting in the Word and journaling and talking to him. And there's so many different ways to engage with the Lord. And he loves to speak to us each individually, but carving out that specific time, I think almost every time I come into prayer, the Lord challenges me on something, because that's what he does. He's always pruning you and he's refining you. And it's so beautiful. I don't I'm not scared of it. Like, I actually look forward to it, because what is he doing? He's making me look more like him. And so he's cutting away the things that don't look like him, and he's helping grow the things that do. And I feel like that has been, again, just like the biggest lifeline for me in this whole process of, man, song blows up, man, new opportunities, man, like this person wants a voice in this, and this person wants to tell you this. And it's like just making sure, like, no matter how busy I am, whether it's on the road, whether it's here, like, I need that time with the Lord, because I need him to speak into these things. I need him to grow my heart. I need to bring my decisions before him. I need to bring my heart before him. I need to bring my mentality, my whatever it might be, before him. And so when it comes to just like, how do you balance that tension? I mean, I think it's in community, and it's in communion with the Lord. It's in abiding with him. It's in, letting him continue to prune and refine every day.
Yeah. So you've kind of come from that. I mean, which is like, it's so sweet to hear you talk about this, because sadly, it's kind of not the common conversation of a young artist. I mean, there's reflection, there's talk about relationship with God, but like you're setting a precedent for everything that you're doing through prayer, community, accountability. Like, accountability sometimes isn't really talked about with artistry. And I mean, I'm in conversations all the time with young artists who they don't have anybody to help them stay accountable when all of a sudden the lights flick on and, fame comes rolling in, and it doesn't really become about the worship anymore. When you came to Nashville and started writing, was there a moment in your conversations with the Lord, in your interactions in prayer, that you felt like the Lord was preparing you for something that you had no idea would blow up the way that it did? Like, was there prep for you?
I don't even know. I mean, I think that season was so, it was a whirlwind, and it was kind of also just like, it felt all in the Lord's hands, because really what kind of the way it happened too was I got connected in February of 2020 with an artist and a manager, or an artist and a label guy. And the label guy's like, man, let's bring you to town. Let's do all these things.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and it shut everything down. And I remember just being in that season with the Lord, and it was like, man, it felt like, just like you were like a whiplash a little bit. Cause it was like, I'm about to go. Nope, just kidding.
Yeah.
And I remember just being so okay with it. And I was surprised with how okay with it I was. And it was kind of just this moment with the Lord of like, if this happens, cool. But if not, like, it doesn't change. Like, the phrase that's always helped me in any season is just like, it doesn't change the assignment. Like, my assignment is to, my own mission statement is to bring as much glory to God and as much heaven to earth as possible. Wow. So that's like my assignment. Like, that's what I want to do. And so me going to Nashville and writing versus me staying here, it doesn't change my assignment to bring as much glory to God and as much heaven to earth as possible.
Yeah.
And so I felt like, and then all of a sudden it started to happen, and I was like, okay, this is cool. But you don't know, you really don't know what's going to come of it. You don't know. I was writing a lot, and labels started being interested. And then the guy that initially was at the label became my manager. And then like we started, all right, let's put some strategy behind this. Let's put some thought behind this. Like, let's put some intentionality in all this. But even then it's like, you write a song and you might love it, but nobody else might like it. And you don't know until it's out.
Yeah.
And you're like, Yep. And so I think the Lord was definitely preparing. I think so much of this preparation was in that, in the formation time at Damascus, and then continuing to be there. And then in that time, I felt like it was more of like a testing than a preparing, I think which is its own form of preparation. Yeah. But I think it was kind of like, hey, all right, these things it looks like there's momentum happening. Where is your heart going to be when things start picking up? Like, where is your heart going to land when all of a sudden people want to write with you, or all of a sudden labels are talking to you and telling you you're the best thing in the world?
Right.
And, like where does your heart go and all that? And I think that was just a season of really, of testing to make sure, like, hey, are you in this for the right reasons? Is your heart steady? How much value are you giving the opinion of man, and what they think about you versus what I think about you? And I think it was just such a sweet season of surrender, of just like holding things like my hands are out, they're open. I'm not clenching on, but if God wants to put something in them, like I can hold it, but I'm also not holding on to it, And I think like, for me, that felt like that season was really, showing that to me.
Hey, you guys, I just want to thank Amazing Life Foundation for making what I do here on this podcast possible. They are my rally team, my biggest supporters. Without Amazing Life, this podcast would not be coming to you. They've just got this insane team of editors. I've just had the best of the best. And I want to just give them a shout out. There's a lot of beautiful things that are coming out of Amazing Life Foundation. And I want you to stay tuned for some of those things. But I just want to shout out to them and thank them for making this podcast possible and bringing this podcast to you every Wednesday and letting me do what I love to do. Now, were you married in really early, or did you just get married in the last couple of years?
Got married almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
But September of 2023.
You hadn't been married in the midst of all these like contractual decisions, right?
Yeah, correct.
So you're signing a contract and you're going to make your first record. I'm kind of curious about this first record because listening to it, it's actually, I'm going to be really honest with you, like you can breeze through a record really quick. And this one, it was very intentional for every song. And I really noticed that there's a lot of language of the prodigal. There's a lot of language of come back home where it's safe. Like some really beautiful, beautiful language. And I was like, oh, I've got to ask him, for your first record, were you writing for all of those kids that you sit in Damascus with? Like, what was when you were writing, what were all these songs and these lyrics cohesively coming together to get to counting your blessings? Because even that song lyrically is it's almost like remember what you've got, like come back to the table and remember what you have, which is why I think people gravitate so much toward it. Where's that thought process for you? Because I just noticed a lot of like prodigal language and redemptive language in that. And I actually I fell in love with that part of it because I'm like, wow. And I was like, I want to ask him if he like had a going away from the Lord. But now that you're talking, I'm like, I wonder if it's because of the kind of kids that you're around all the time.
Yeah, no, I think that is, you nailed it. I think so much of it, like even when albums, even the way they're put together is so funny because it's songs from so many different seasons of your life,
right,
oftentimes. And it's like, and you're pulling from different places. And I remember when the album was kind of put together, we knew which songs we wanted. I'm like, Lord, like, what is the common theme in all this? Like, what is the string that kind of ties this all together? Because that's just the way my brain always works. I want it to be cohesive.
Yeah.
And I felt like just that word invitation, like it's just an invitation.
Wow. Yeah.
And
that's what it felt like.
Part of that was, again, my own experience of like, just encountering the Lord in powerful ways. I never really had like a run away from Jesus, like big thing. I mean, obviously all of us have our own moments, but generally stayed pretty on the course. But it is, I've seen so many people in my life who have wandered, who have been prodigals, who have, and really where my writing started, when I was at Damascus and writing, it was because we always prayed prophetically into, Lord, we have a bunch of kids coming. We don't know who they are. You do. What do you want? Like, what do you want to speak to them? What do you want to do for them? And that's kind of where my songwriting began to come from, was like, Lord, like, what do you want to do with this group of kids? And then it was like, okay, cool. What's a song that fits that? I don't really know if there is one that comes to mind. So like, I want to write one, and some of those songs will never see the light. Most of those songs will never see the light of day, but it was such a special, like, prophetic process of like, what do these kids need? And so I think in my writing, there's always a bit of it that's personal. Like, man, I've encountered the love of God. I've needed an invitation. I've had to repent and come back to the Lord. But also so much of it is I love mission. Like I'm so missional. And again, so much of that just comes from my background and how I've been formed. So it is like, man, what songs do I feel like people need to hear and people need to sing and declare over themselves and their loved ones? And so I think a lot of it came from that as just like an invitation for no matter where you're at in your journey with God, you can always take another step closer.
Yeah. Listening to I'm a lyric girl, so I love lyrics. Yeah. which I don't know if you're heavier music or lyric. Are you drawn more to lyrics or music?
I think melody's like my strong suit.
Yeah.
I think melodies come to me so quickly and so easily. Sometimes lyrics will be like, boom, it's right there. And other times I have to like fight a lot more for it. So.
Yeah. Well, I was, as I was kind of listening and looking at the lyrics, I don't think I've ever really felt this with the songwriter or worship leader, but I just felt like if pastoring could be a song instead of a sermon, that's what I felt like you were doing.
Wow.
Like pastoring a room with these lyrics. You know, I've got a 20-year-old, so it's like I could see him being pastored by those lyrics to just come to make the altar a place that wasn't scary. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
that's cool.
Yeah, I just thought, what a gift. Like I've listened to a lot of artists and I'm like, man, this kid's got a gift in musically pastoring through your melody lines and your lyrics. You know, just in a really beautiful supernatural way. Because every song on that record, which this is your first record, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you working on a second record right now?
Planning for one. We're trying to figure out, we're like working on like a deluxe type thing right now for this one.
Yeah.
Which all those songs are already like recorded, but I'm really excited for what's next.
Well, when you look at those songs, were you looking at counting my blessings as like this one, it's going to be this one? Like, did you feel that?
I thought there was something special about it. So it was funny. I'll tell the story. Like I wrote it, and with these two other amazing writers, Jonathan Gamble and Jordan Sapp, incredible humans, amazing, incredible writers. And I walked away feeling like it was something special. And then I was back in town in Nashville a couple weeks later, and I was doing this showcasing for these I think 5 different labels that week. And so I was going to these labels, and I'm playing these songs for them and playing them live and sharing a little bit about them. And I was talking with my manager about what songs to play. And at that point, we didn't have a demo for Counting My Blessings yet.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, you haven't heard the song yet. I think I want to play it though. I think it's a special one. And he's just like, I trust you, go for it. And it was actually really funny too, because up to that point, he hadn't ever heard me play live before. He's like, man, like I could show up to these showcases and he could be horrible and that would be really embarrassing. But I ended up playing Counting My Blessings at all these different showcases. And it just definitely seemed like that was the one that people like resonated with and it hit them and, you know, just moved them. And so I think we all knew there was something special. And then we got the demo back and then it was like, oh my goodness, like this feels special. But again, you never know. That's just the crazy thing about songs in this whole industry world is like, you might feel great about a song and, you know, nothing really happens to it. You may feel about a song and it goes crazy. Like it's just so hard to tell. And even there is like, you know, I feel like it was funny after that one came out and did what it did. And then, you know, you're going into releasing your next single. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, can this even match it? You feel like you always have to beat it. And I remember just talking to the Lord about it. And he just showed me like these 2 examples from scripture. And one of them is, you know, the loaves and the fish. And that's what everybody wants. Everyone wants the loaves and the fish story. Yeah. And it's, you know, you give the Lord an offering and he multiplies it for thousands of people, does something crazy with it. And it's awesome. And I love those moments. But there's a moment in one of the Gospels where, you know, he sees this widow bring her little coin to the treasury. She puts it in there and he's like, man, like she loved the Lord so well there because she gave everything she had. But he doesn't multiply it. He doesn't do anything crazy with it. Yeah. It was just the offering. And both examples, there's an offering that's given. And one of them God multiplies it. Yeah. And one of them he doesn't. But in both of them, he's loved by it. And I remember the Lord just speaking that to my heart and just like, hey, stay focused on the offering. That's all you need to worry about. Yeah. I'll worry about the multiplication. I'll worry about the whatever it is if I want to do it. And so I feel like, you know, even with counting, it's like you can't really expect it. You can't anticipate or predict it. I felt like there was something special, but you know, anytime we put a song out, it's because we feel like there's something special about it. We wouldn't release music if we didn't think it was worth releasing. But I think just holding that mentality of like, man, it's about the offering. and let the Lord
That's
do the
such
rest.
a great example about that. Hey guys, I want to just take a little segue here and tell everybody and get the word out about the new community and tribe that I am in the middle of right now on ritaspringer.com. If you want more content, I've had a lot of people ask me for when are you going to do this and when are you going to do that and when are you going to do this? Well, I have created a platform on my website under the tab community where you will be then taken to tribes. And I am inviting you to be part of my tribe. On that, there is a subscription tier that you can subscribe to where you can get different content. We are doing Bible studies and daily devotionals and throwing some cooking shows in there on my favorite recipes and doing mentorships and songwriting things that we're going to be uploading this year. So if you want to be part of my tribe, part of my community, please go to ritaspringer.com, click on that community tab and join my community. Okay, staying on that vein though, like, were you prepared for how it blew up? Like, what's so hilarious about certain songs that people use for reels? Because that's everywhere, bro. Like, that's everywhere.
No, it's crazy.
I started watching, this is just like a side note about me. I started watching Turkish television because it's so clean. I know, it's crazy.
That's amazing.
And so then I started following certain Turkish actors, and most of them are like, they're Muslims. But when I would see some of these actors using that song for their reels, I was like, these bros don't know. They have no idea the kind of, impact that this song. So I just was like, wow, that's like pretty amazing that you can write something that, the entire song has such a beautiful, very obvious message about the goodness of God, but the chorus is so redeemable for everybody's life, which I think is what makes a song work in a way that you just don't expect, where you could just take a little piece of it and somebody who has no idea about Jesus would still be singing that or using that as the background, because there's so much hope and positivity in just being aware to notice what you do have and stop just groveling about what you don't, which is a huge thing, I think, for those of us in walking in faith. Is I think a lot of times we spend so much time asking God why he hasn't yet than actually seeing what's on the table that he's given us, that's staring us right in the face, which is so great. But in the middle of that, is it just in the going back to the prayer and going back to the thing, because you're still so young, and the snowball effect of the industry and the Christian industry is, what are you going to do next? Yeah. Like, you got to beat what you're doing now. Like, buddy, get in there. Now you have to write with certain people because you got to get the hit. You got to get how will you be able to, are you the kind of guy that's like, God, will you just show me what to do and who to write with, and what your titles are for songs and what you want to do? Like, will you go into those deep places, or is it like, because I know you said prayer, community, accountability, but when the ball is rolling down the hill and collecting all of this stuff, it can kind of feel overwhelming. Yeah. And affect you and you don't even know it.
I feel like one of my favorite things, one of my favorite stories is it was funny how things in relationship with my wife, Abby, kind of felt like they mirrored things happening in the industry. So it's funny because as I'm dating these labels, I was dating my now wife and awesome. Learning about them. And then all of a sudden I signed my record deal, and like a week later I got engaged. So all of a sudden it's like that was happening at the same time. And then I like put out my song in July and got married 2 months later. So it was like, all right, new thing happened. Everything kind of mirrored. And so I was like I was traveling around visiting radio stations to promote the song, like literally 2 weeks before my wedding. And so it was just like a crazy season and all this wildness. And then wedding happens and we're going on a honeymoon. And I'm like clocked out. I'm like, all right, it's been a wild season. I'm like, nothing work related. I'm uninstalling email, social media, whatever. I'll respond to texts. Like I'll check my texts every couple of days and see if there's any fires I need to put out. So I'm on my honeymoon, doing the least amount of work I've done. And at that point, Counting had been out for 2 months. And it was doing well. Like it was for a first brand new release, it was doing well, but nothing like crazy. And then I'm on my honeymoon, doing the least amount of work I've done in months. And I start getting texts from my team, and they're like, your song is blowing up in Brazil. And I'm like, what? And it was like the most bizarre thing. And it like went to like the #1 on the viral 50 in Brazil, and was like doing all this crazy stuff in Brazil. And it was such a special moment with the Lord where it just showed me, it's like, man, I'm doing the least amount of work I've done.
Yeah.
And the song is having the most success it's had. And I feel like just having that mindset was so helpful right off the get-go of like, Lord, you did this. You were the one who provided. You were the one who made it happen. And, and then all of a sudden, it continued. They had like some Brazilian artist recorded a version of it that ended up, I think it's like 220 million views on YouTube or something like that. And like, and then I saw it gets radio success, all these different things. But to go back to where it started, it was like, man, that it just felt like the Lord did that. And so I think as, moving forward into where I'm at now and what's next and all these different things. And I think just having, it really is just about faithfulness to the Lord's call. And I feel like that's just something that we have to be. The more success we have, and even success is obedience. Like that's the reality. Like the most successful thing I can do is be obedient, whatever that looks like. But the more like, there's this worldly success, worldly notoriety, the more I actually need to double down on that obedience and double down on that seeking the Lord. Because, there have been things I've turned down, things I've said no to that would have made way more sense from a worldly perspective. But I didn't feel the Lord on it. I didn't feel like he was telling me to do that. In fact, I felt like he was telling me not to do it. Yeah. And sometimes that means having hard conversations. Sometimes that means letting some people down. But at the end of the day, we can't forget the reason we got into this, which was to bring people to Jesus and to glorify him. And he's not glorified when I get glory, but then do it in disobedience. It's like he's glorified more by me being obedient in a very small way than me by being disobedient in a massive way. Like that's, I think it's just about that. And so even when it's like, what's next, what's coming, what do you need to do, whatever, obviously there's practicals, there's strategies, there's, ways that you go about things that make sense. But at the same time, like I was reading through the whole book of 1 Corinthians like a month ago. And there's so many things in there about just how the wisdom of the wisdom of man is like foolishness to God, and how God uses, foolish things to shame the wise. And so it's like, man, if all my decisions make sense from a practical perspective, am I missing something the Lord might be wanting to do that makes no sense from a practical perspective? But that's how he works. And so I think it's just staying attentive to that and really trying to let the Lord guide it and let him define success, because that's if I start to let myself or my label or, whoever define what does success look like for you, I know I'm just going to end up burnt out, and I don't want to be burnt out. I'm in this for the long run. I want to be faithful for the long run. And so I need to be consistent in letting the Lord define success for me. Well,
and it's an ever shifting thing too. I mean, every time I've talked to so many artists, and we talk about the fact that, there is a thing that happens that is just the way that it is. We don't know who wrote the rules, but it just happens when you release a record, and then this happens and this happens, and you do this and you do this almost like robotically. It's like this mechanical thing that's said in there. And every time you do release another record, or you're in a season where you're writing songs for that, and you're putting a lot of thought process into something, you feel the nerves, you feel the anxiety, you feel the like, oh gosh, what if it's a flop? Oh gosh, what if it doesn't stream well? Those are actually really normal things that come along with what we're called to do. But it's a practice of not allowing those things to actually steal the bigger picture of what the Lord has had you in there. I remember once, with one of my first records, I said to the Lord, I just don't want it to end up in my garage. Please don't let it end up in my garage. Because back in that day, everything got shipped to your garage, man. You didn't have warehouses that would ship stuff out for you. So, and I was sending things out from my garage. And so for 3 years, I was sending all this stuff out. And I remember I hadn't got a distribution deal yet. And I was whining to the Lord one day, and I was like, it's still in my garage. And he's like, actually, it may be stored in your garage, but how many thousands of CDs have you shipped out? It didn't end up in your garage, you know? Yeah. And so sometimes I'm like, oof, I need to be a little bit more specific to the Lord when I'm giving him, you know, certain things. But I do think it's a maturing journey. The deeper that you get into this walk and the more that you do and the more you feel God calls you to do. Hey, a little segue here to just remind those of you who really love what the podcast is carrying, love what I do. You know that I mentor, you know that I work with creative and artists. We are in some exciting things this year with my nonprofit, Wearing Justice, but I can't do a lot of these things unless I have help and donations. We are a charitable organization, a nonprofit, and it's Christian education based. And if you are out there and you love to donate to things that not just inspire people, but heal people while people are being inspired, would you consider donating to my nonprofit, Wearing Justice? If you just click this QR code that you're seeing on the screen, you can donate and give any amount of donation. It was greatly appreciated. I would so appreciate it because I can keep doing what I feel like God's called me to do and really keep believing in artists everywhere and how God is using the arts to heal people's heart. And I love that. I just love what I do. I want to keep this up, but I need your help to do it. So would you consider today making a donation to Wearing Justice and help keep this all up and running? What is interesting to me about you, and this is one of the questions I really wanted to ask you, a lot of times as writers, especially when there's so much melody and so much deep in us, we start writing songs that we don't even know until sometimes after they're released, that God was actually having us write them to stitch us back together for things that were coming up that we didn't know that we would deal with or we would have to walk through. Have you found that to be the case in your losses and the stuff that you and Abby have? Because didn't you dealt with the loss of your first baby? Yeah. And I was even tearing up this morning just looking at these lyrics again, thinking, I wonder if that kid knew when he was writing these songs that some of those lyrics may be the thread that God was having him write to hold him back together. How was that experience for you?
I mean, that's exactly it. It is crazy how the Lord will use songs in different seasons to speak to different people and different things. And one song in particular on the album, it's called "This Side of Heaven," was that for me. It was like it wasn't even supposed to be. We had kind of forgotten about it, to be honest. I'd written it with two other writers, and one of them had just kind of gone through a hardship, and we're talking about what that felt like. And that kind of, honestly, the song felt more for him in that season. Yeah. And it was like, okay, man, like this is so special, and we liked it. And then months later, almost a year later, my wife and I go in for our 20-week appointment, first child, little baby girl, and there's no heartbeat. And you're crushed, you're hit in the gut. And, our whole community like rallied with us, and we had like a follow-up appointment in a few days. And we're like, man, we want to like contend for this. Like, we want to we're not giving up yet. We believe in a God of miracles. We've seen him do amazing things, and just really like prayed and interceded and fasted for him to bring our little girl back to life. And then I genuinely believed it. I genuinely believed it was going to happen. Yeah. And I was like, man, Lord, you're going to get like, this is going to you're going to get so much glory from this. It's going to be amazing. And we go into our follow-up appointment, and nothing's different. And I had to go through just horrible labor and delivery and all of it. It was just so traumatic, you know?
Yeah.
But I remember in that season, that song came out. The Lord just put one, like reminded me of one of the lyrics to it, just got stuck in my head out of the blue. Wow. And I went back to it to listen to it again for the first time in almost a year. And it just spoke to everything I was feeling, everything I was grappling with in that moment, of just the mystery and the uncertainty and, you know, the reality that I'm going on stage and singing about the goodness of God and blessings and how he's never going to let us down. All of a sudden here this hits and I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And sometimes there just aren't answers and people will try to give you answers and most of the time it's not helpful. You know, it's just, but there's this reality that I don't always get answers, but I do get his presence. And also this reality that I get to give him a gift on this side of heaven that I can't on that side. Wow. You know, because on that side, like I get to bring so much worship and I get to worship with my daughter. It's going to be beautiful, but it's like a worship that is without like there's no tears, there's no fear, there's no doubt. And I can't wait for that day. But on this side of heaven, I get to offer that gift when it comes with tears and when it comes with pain and heartbreak and hurt. Like I'm not going to be able to give that when I'm gone. And so I don't want to waste the opportunities I have to give that here because it's such a beautiful gift because it's so small, it's so temporary. There's such a small amount of time to give it. And so that song just was such an important reminder for me in that season of what it really meant to give God the gift of a sacrifice of praise, not just a gift of praise, but like a true sacrifice of praise.
Yeah. How are you and your wife doing now?
We're, I mean, the Lord's done so much healing. The Lord really has. I mean,
because your journey would be different than her journey too.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like I was forced to move faster, you know?
Wow.
And I think guys naturally will,
yeah.
In most cases, not all cases, but it was like, man, it happened in August and took the whole month of August, to just be home and heal and recover. And then, started slowly getting back into things in September. And even that was like, you kind of have to speed up a little bit of a recovery process because you're like, I know I have to go on stage and sing Counting My Blessings. And I don't want to.
Oh gosh, yeah.
but I like, but Lord, help me want to. Lord, help me, you know, choose to give this even when I don't feel like it. For her though, I mean, like she quit her job and just was needing to heal and grieve and recover and that looks different. And we praise God, like we were just able to be so honest with each other and have great communication about like where we were at. And you know, it was hard for her to see me seemingly like moving on when it's so real and present for her and able to have those conversations and stuff. So now, I mean, a year, we just celebrated, not celebrate's a weird word. We just commemorated, I don't know, a year of her delivery a couple days ago. And it's like, it's amazing to look back and see the healing that the Lord has done. And you know, the ways that he's used it. And it's hard because like, you know, I've seen the way he's grown us through it. I've seen even the way that testimony being shared has helped heal other people. And it's so awesome. At the same time, you're kind of like, man, I would still trade all that to have my daughter today. You know, if I'm being honest. But I still know that God is working through it and healing through it. And it's hard, but at the same time, I feel like there's been so much goodness and growth. And we're doing all right with it all.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason why I call this particular podcast Worship is My Weapon, because I've just found it to be the greatest weapon against things you just can't even conceive come at you.
Yeah.
And it's such a comfort in the deepest amounts of grief where there are no words. I mean, I love that scripture talks about groaning too deep for words. And I realize those are just moans and sounds, and that's music. Like that's worship. And sometimes all you can do is moan and make a noise because there are no words for the loss. But I feel like it's so beautiful, especially for you. I think it's different for your wife because women have to look for a different resource for comfort. you're the guy that goes out and gets to write all about it and find the melody lines for it.
Right.
But how awesome is the Lord that he prepares us ahead of time to even be the soundtrack for our own grieving. I mean, I can't even tell you how many records the Lord's like, you need to go back and listen to your record. You know, that type of thing where it's like, wake up, get, brew some coffee and go listen to your own record. You've been singing over yourself for 2 years, or sometimes going clear back to an album that I released 25 years ago. And he's like, go back and listen to that album because there's a song on that album that is for you right now. And I think that's the beauty of, and the power of worship, that it just articulates and it's there to keep singing over us. So,
and I think it's healing. I mean, I think it's
healing.
Like worship, there's something about it that I mean, it was hard to get up on those stages and worship.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it healed me. And it continues to heal me because it's like, again, it's like in the midst of me not understanding and me, having mystery and even me having anger at God, just coming and showing up and choosing to still worship regardless of how I feel does something for your soul that words can't, that words won't, And I felt like that helped me recover in such a beautiful way and helped me grow deeper with the Lord in such a beautiful way. And I think back to that all the time, just how healing worship can be and just getting in the Lord's presence and saying, Lord, I don't understand, but also I'm not Lord. I'm not God.
Yeah.
And you don't even owe me anything. And like before, like I remember hearing someone say like, before he was my friend, he was my Lord, and it's like, man, like it's amazing that we have him as our friend. It's amazing that we have him as our comforter. But at the same time, like he is God and he still is worthy of our praise, regardless if we feel or not. And there's something special that happens when we choose to align with the truth over our feelings that actually helps our feelings bow to the truth and not dismiss them and not push them aside, but just saying, Lord, I feel this way. I'm still going to give you this gift. And in that place, like he heals us.
Yeah. Have you sensed a greater power having gone through your loss now, even when you sing, Counting My Blessings? Do you feel a greater power on it now? Even in the pain, can't you feel the greater power of, man, you're really going to have to sing this if you really believe this?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a new weight to it.
Yes.
In a beautiful way. Like, it means more because it's not just like, oh man, of course he can sing that song. He's got a record deal and people know his name and yada, yada, yada. It's like, no, man, like there's a weightiness to it. Like, that's why I heard someone say recently, like, a testimony is not a testimony until it's been tested. It's just a story.
Yeah.
And I felt like that is
good.
real. Like I can sing about his faithfulness and his goodness, but what happens when it's tested? If all of a sudden I can emerge on the other side, still singing that, it goes from just a story to a testimony because it's been tested in something, and that carries weight. And that's how they conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Like there's actually conquering that happens when you have a testimony to share, and so it does mean more. I can't go on stage and not think about it. I can't go on stage and not, still kind of be like, God, I don't understand.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I wish things were different. I'm still going to worship though.
It's so great, Seph, that God doesn't expect you to go on stage and not think about it. I mean, it's just, it's such a testimony. Even what you're saying is such a testimony because it has been tested, that you're still willing to open your mouth and declare it. I think that's such an advocate too for people that don't know how. It's like, I've just met so many people who don't know how to tell God how they feel. And it gives them permission to do it. Our honesty and our testimonies give them permission to do it. So it's so great. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me on the podcast here with Worship is My Weapon. There's a lot of things I'm doing right now. And one of the things that we provide alongside this podcast is a newsletter that we do that we send out to those of you that are subscribed, where I just answer questions and kind of give you information. And sometimes you guys are able to write in with questions that you just are curious about. We love that. We love that interaction. I actually love to interact with those of you that want something a little bit more beyond the podcast. So if that's you, make sure to get our newsletter, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the newsletter, and stay in touch with all the things that we're doing here on the podcast in that newsletter. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions before I let you go. When you look to the future, like to the next project or to the next thing, what excites you the most? Like what's giving you the most like, oh, I'm ready for this. Let's do this, Lord.
Yeah, totally. I think it's been so fun doing live shows over the last year, because I feel like what I've realized has been a live show will show you, at least for me, what kind of music I want to write. And that's kind of like, again, how it was at Damascus, where I'd be like, man, like these kids are coming. I wish I had this song to speak to them. And it's just really like solidified, my love of leading people in worship. Like that's just like what I love to do, is lead people in worship. And so I feel like that's really got me excited for like the next batch of songs coming up, or just what I'm writing now, or even just the way like planning on tours and things like that, just doing it the way where I just love I want revival. I want to see people I want to see people come to the Lord. I want to see people empowered to go to share him. I want to see him glorified. And so what gets me excited is just that renewed focus, like just honing in on, this is the type of music I want to write. I want to write music that is just so worshipful to him, and music that is just like really empowering the people of God to be the people of God, to be God's hands and feet in this world. And that just excites me, because I feel like, again, I up until now, like even this album, I love it, and it's so special to me as a first album. But it's a conglomeration of 4 or 5 years of me trying to figure out who I am and what I want to write and what I want to say. And so I think it's been fun to just kind of see the emergence and the growth and the just change of my own heart and process of writing and doing shows and things like that. That just really has me excited for what's next and what's coming when it comes to music and when it comes to just events and things like that. I will really want to see the Lord move and give him space to do it.
Do you think there's like a renewed ownership? Like you're like, maybe in the first phase, I was letting other people lead the way, but now I feel like I have a little bit more that I can sit down and be like, no, this is the way we're going. This is what we're doing.
100%. Okay. Yeah. I mean, before you're kind of you're writing to kind of help discover yourself a little bit.
Sure.
You're like, what do I want to say? What do I want to sound like? All different stuff. And that happens all throughout your career, I am sure, but at the same time now it's like, man, there is a deeper level of ownership of like, no, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. This other stuff isn't bad and there's still good to it, but like, this is the kind of song I want to sing, and this is the kind of way I want to lead, and this is the kind of thing that I want to do, because I know it. Like I've walked through experience, and I've learned, and I've grown, and I've seen what works and doesn't work, and what excites me and what doesn't excite me. And so I think there definitely is a deeper level of ownership as I continue to step into all this.
Yeah. And then like, do you have, are you a guy that carries great vision? When you go into doing something, like, I already know the name of that. I already know what the album's going to look like. I already know what the cover's going to look like. Are you a visionary?
Yes and no. I feel like so much of it is, I'm a big thinker, big dreamer, I love big vision. It gets me so excited. And so I think there are definitely things that I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool. I don't know if that's the next thing or if that's 10 years from now. Like, I think that's where it's like, it's like that this idea would be so cool. I don't know when, but at some point I think that's going to happen. And so, I think it's a lot of that. It's a lot of like that. I love dreaming with the Lord. That was something we were just really encouraged to do here at Damascus. We had like a whole formation session on dreaming with the Lord. And so I love being able to think ahead and plan ahead and do that. But also at the same time, I'm very much like I'm a big picture person, and I'm not I'm not a minutia detail kind of person. So
Yeah.
I love surrounding myself with those people. I'm like, this is awesome. Let's do this. And like, all right,
Yeah.
well, this and this and this need to happen, and you'll probably have to figure out this and that. So I think that's kind of where the way I operate.
That's good. That's good. It's like you're super strategic, but you need somebody to help you get it actually off the ground, which is great.
We use the phrases like visionaries and
Yeah.
implementers.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
big
yeah.
visionary, and I love working with implementers who then can take the vision, implement
That's
it.
great. Okay. I'm going to ask you this kind of final question. Like, when you look at, if you're a visionary, then you could probably look down the road, 10 years down the road. What do you want to have said you've encountered or that you've experienced?
Yeah. I think the most important thing for me is a family that loves Jesus more than I do,
Yeah.
and that they're not wounded by my pursuit of Jesus hasn't wounded their pursuit of Jesus. I think that's so easy to happen in ministry where,
super honest.
Someone is like going after the Lord, but then their family they're not going after their family, know? And that means they're really not going after the Lord, And so I think I want a family that is all in it with the Lord together. And this is something we're doing together. And like we're on mission together, and we're seeing each other, like really seeing each other. I think that's like the biggest thing. 10 years down the road, if I do that, regardless of the other things, I'll consider it successful, Wow. But at the same time, I want to see hearts encounter Jesus. I'm so about collaboration. I love collaborating to build the kingdom. I love seeing, it's something I think our world struggles so much with comparison and competition. Yeah. And I think artists do too. So. Like it's so easy like I was thinking about earlier. It's like, man, like I go to prayer and the Lord prunes me, but what he's pruning me of is all these issues that I have of comparison and competition and pride and ego, and all these different things. And, and I think it's like, I'm not perfect, and I have so much that the Lord is working in on me. But I think one of the best ways that the Lord deals with that is through collaboration and encouragement. And it's like, man, I want to be somebody who collaborates and encourages other people. Like 10 years down the road, I want people to think to me and not be like, man, he was so good at building his own thing. But like, man, he was so good at building up the kingdom, whatever that looked like with, whether that was just encouraging others or championing others or writing with others or releasing with others. It doesn't matter. I think like, I just want to be a person of like, of kingdom collaboration. And then, man, I just want to see like, I want to be in a place where 10 years from now, I can look back and just see, have had so many encounters where the Lord just took over. I just love, I love the moments here at Damascus or at shows or wherever where you kind of have a game plan and then it gets thrown out the window really quickly
because of the Lord.
And I want to see that more and more in our world today, in our industry today, where we just can get out of the way more and more, and it becomes less and less about us and more about the presence of God and more about the people of God gathering and living in the presence of God. So yeah, I want to put out music that I feel like helps to do that. I want to lead events that help do that. I want, just to really, like I said, at my core, I want revival. Like that really is, and that's like our whole mission statement at Damascus is like bringing revival to the Catholic Church, and so like that's what I got to do at this side. But even beyond just the Catholic Church, the church as a whole, the world as a whole. I heard someone say recently, it's become like a mantra for me. It's like I'm way less concerned with who follows me than I am about who doesn't follow Jesus. Wow. So it's like, man, I want to get those people. Like I want to be concerned about who doesn't know Jesus. How can we get them to know him? And I hope that 10 years from now, I can look back and be like, man, I devoted my life to that, regardless of what was. I hope there's more things unseen in the way that I did that than things that are seen in the way I did that. Like I hope I bring more people to encounters with Jesus in ways that nobody will really see than in all the public big ways that people do see.
Wow. That's so inspiring, buddy. It's so beautiful. I as a mom, I can't help but sit here and think, man, your mom and dad did a great job, kid. They did a great job with you. 'Cause man, you're one to be proud of. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and just thanks for sharing your heart. And it's just so refreshing to see young 20-something-year-old kids just passionate about the Lord. And I do think it's people like you that that are stirring up revival among your age bracket and those that are in high school right now, because there's so much going on in the world with that. And man, more power to you, buddy.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your ministry. I remember hearing there was a version of your song, There Is No Striving.
Yeah.
I think you did it at Bethel. And there was a recording that went up.
Yeah.
And I had that on repeat for just a really, really important season in my life. And it was such a special song. The way you led it was so beautiful. And then this podcast, I've loved some of the conversations.
Yeah.
Mitch Wong, Amanda Cook, Corey.
Yeah.
Such fun conversations that I was so blessed to listen to. So thank you. I know you really are a mother to so many people, and just thank you for your ministry and
you're so welcome.
The lives and people that have encountered the Lord more because of you and what you've done. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome, bud. All right. I hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet Abby.
Hey, me too. I would love
great.